Up, Disrupt Nation? My name is Tony Delgado, and today we have a really special guest. We have a really influential interview. You've been seeing me talk about this individual, talk about this interview, talk about this conversation for the past week. I'm so excited to have this gentleman on. So, yeah, man, I'm super excited, super pumped. Les Brown is one of the most influential public speakers of our, not only this decade, our entire lifetimes. I've gotten so many DMs. Jonathan, I see Jonathan in the chat. I got so many DMs from people that have been anticipating this conversation, and I'm super honored, super humbled to be able to talk to this individual. He's spoken on stages all around the world. He was influencing people before the word influencer was a thing, before social media and before the likes and the comments and all the things that we see in today's hyper social media age. Les Brown was doing the work, right? Traveling the country, traveling the world, working with people, helping them become the best versions of themselves, helping them wake up. He's not really even just a motivational speaker. He's more of a motivational preacher. And he's got into not only his own community, but other people's communities all around the world, spoken on stages, 80,000 plus stadiums filled with people, and been able to change so many lives all around the world. So I'm really excited for this conversation. I'm really humbled and honored to be able to share his message with our audience. The world is changing, right? The world's changed a lot in the past decade. The world's changed a lot really in the past year. COVID really turned the world upside down, and people have been looking for hope, right? They've been looking for hope. They've been looking for the answer to a lot of questions, right? And the thing that we need to realize is that the only person that can change our lives is the person on the other end of the mirror, right? The only person that can change your life is yourself. So that's why personal development, you actually working on you, it's the only investment that lasts a lifetime. And that's why the work that Les does is so important and so influential. Because, a lot of times it's hard to relate, right? It's hard to relate when you have role models, but maybe those role models don't look like you. You're getting advice, but you're not getting advice from people that look like you. You grow up with adversity. You grow up with the world telling you that you have a limitation, right? Les grew up in the midst of the Jim Crow era. Les grew up in the midst of Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement. And here he is. I'm bringing him on right now. It's connecting. Les Brown, my brother.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, my friend. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Oh my God! When I first announced this, I got so many DMs and people are so excited for you to share your message. You've been so influential from generations and generations, literally impacted people's lives all around the world, man. So thank you so much for doing this.
Well, I want to thank you for who you are and the impact that you're making in millions of people's lives. This is a time that we need voices of hope like yours, and sharing ideas, strategies, and experiences that people have that can help those that are struggling now what to do in order to make it in and out of the pandemic. So thank you for your standing up and being a transformation.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. That's the thing that people need to realize, is that the change in the world, the change in the universe, it can be you, right? You can choose. You don't have to be elected. You don't need anyone else to choose for you to stand up. It can be you to wake up in the morning and choose that you want to be the change that you want to see in the universe. And so when I moved down to Puerto Rico, that's what I did. Hurricane Maria struck the island of Puerto Rico. People told me to wait for the government to help. And I said, no, I'm going to call all my crazy entrepreneur friends and we're going to go to Puerto Rico and we're going to make the impact that we can, right? And nobody chose us. No one elected us, right? We had to choose ourselves. So I want to talk a little bit about you and your career, because your career has amassed so many different decades, so many different changes in culture, so many different changes in what civilization just looks like. It looks a lot different than when you started your career. But you have not changed, my friend. From me following your career my entire life, my young life, you haven't changed. You've been the same. So how, you've been an influencer before social media. You've been able to influence and impact people's lives all around the world. So my question to you is, what does the word influencer mean to you?
It's really doing what it is you're doing. You have decided. We make decisions, and our decisions have some impact. And you've made a decision, I want my life to count. That's what influencers do. You've decided that you want to live a life that outlives you. Horace Mann said we should be ashamed to die until we've made some major contribution to humankind. So when we look at where we are, evil prevails when good men and women do nothing. And like you said, there's no excuse for not living a life that matters, living a life that counts. All of us can do something. And this platform, the internet, it eliminates geography. We've gone from brick and mortar to click and order. And so it gives everybody a chance to amplify their voice beyond their local community and their city and their state, nationally and globally. That's never been available to us before. And now we have this platform, and it's being used primarily for entertainment, for old boxing matches or football games, all right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but we need more people who will have a level of consciousness that you're showing up with that said, hey, I believe it can be used for entertainment, but can also be used to empower people, to educate people, to heighten the level of awareness, to let people know that the adversities that they are facing, that they are stronger than that, that they can turn those adversities to their advantage. That's what you do when you speak, when people hear you, when you interview guests. You disrupt their self-explanatory style. You distract, dispute, and inspire. You distract them from just focusing on their problems, because where focus goes, energy goes. And through your ongoing process of interviewing people and your knowledge and your experiences of what you've gone through, you dismantle their current belief system that says, I can't make it, this is too much. And you inspire them to make a decision to take their lives in another direction. We make decisions, and our decisions make us. Come on now, talk to me.
Well, and that's the thing. Everyone is just one decision away from changing their entire lives. So when we came down to Puerto Rico, we started hosting in-person events, pre-COVID, obviously. And we started getting people down here and showing them what's possible. And then we started bringing locals from the University of Puerto Rico and getting them in the same room and giving them scholarships to come to the event for free so that they could see what was happening, right? And one of the problems that we have in Puerto Rico is our biggest export, it's not mangoes, it's not bananas, it's not any physical good. It's actually our people. Our smartest people, they go to the university, they get educated, and then they leave to the mainland, because we're all citizens here in Puerto Rico. They go to the United States and they go to look for jobs and new opportunities. So our biggest export is our smartest and most intelligent people. And some incredible people have came back and given back to the island. But then, and at the same time, we have these tech millionaires who are moving to Puerto Rico because it's beautiful and the internet's great and there's some tax incentives for them to move down here, right? So we have, an exodus of our own people leaving and then an influx of new people coming in, right? So we started creating these events because we want to show them, hey, look what's possible. Look at what's able to be created right here in Puerto Rico. You don't have to leave anymore. Like you were saying earlier, the digital economy. You can do business with everyone in the world and stay right here, right? The same internet connection that we're using to do this interview, you can use to impact people and do business with people all around the world.
Yes. And what we have the opportunity to do now is let them know where you're standing is holy ground. And the reason I say that is because the computer eliminates geography. They can do the work in the United States or any country in the world and never have to leave where they are right now. And so when you begin to think about legacy, what will my legacy be? Focusing on living a legendary life so that you can leave a legacy, so that you can live a life that will count. You want to make an impact where you are. And evil prevails when good men and women do nothing. And so I remember something that Bob Marley said when he was interviewed after doing a concert, and he had been in a dispute and he was wounded from a gunshot wound. And the reporter asked him, why would you do this concert in Jamaica and you could have canceled and taken a day off? And he said something I'll never forget. He said, people who are doing evil in the world don't take a day off. Why should I? So he was intent on providing a concert, and he had messages in his songs that he wanted to lift people up. And he was determined to do that. And sometimes we have to be willing to look beyond ourselves, be willing to make the sacrifice, be willing to take a stand. I had a saying when I was in radio, stand up for what you believe in, because you can fall for anything. And now more than ever, we have to create just what you and I are now doing. Minorities, people of color, people who have a vision of creating a new reality for our children and our children's children, that we have to create collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships. Your reputation precedes you. And so I know that you are a person who have a goal of making a difference on the planet. So when you call, I'm going to answer. When you say something, I'm going to pay attention. Why? Because I know what you stand for. You stand for creating goodness on the planet. You stand for being courageous enough to do what you can where you are with what you have to make a difference in the people in Puerto Rico. That's major, because a lot of people, they sit around and they are either making something happen or watching something happen, or they don't know what happened. But you made a conscious decision. I'm going to make things happen for the greater good. You're involved in the greater work. You have answered the call on your life. I believe that as much as you have chosen this path, and I really believe this with all my heart and soul, I'm adopted, as you're aware, and I just discovered my birth family at 76.
Wow.
But as much as you have chosen this path, I now know there's certain people who were chosen, and you answered the call. You were chosen to do this work. And you have what I call the can't help it. Well, you just can't help yourself. you understand the greatest among you will be your servant. You got the can't help it.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that's incredible that I realized recently is when I'm out in the universe, how important each and every member of the Latino community is. Because whether we like it or not, if I go out and I act a fool, if I go out and I, get into a fight in public or curse, or if I don't act professional in public, I'm not only making myself look bad, I'm making every single other Puerto Rican look bad. They're gonna say, "Oh, that's those Puerto Ricans. That's what they do." So that's a lot of responsibility on me. Besides my name, forget my name or my brand, even if they don't know who I am, right? I'm going out to the universe and I'm representing for my entire community. So I have a duty to have a strong household. I have a duty to be a good husband. I have a duty to be a positive member of my community. Because if I'm not, well, then I'm disrespecting and I'm being a disgrace to my entire community. And when you start seeing the world like that, it's a big responsibility, but it's also really empowering because I have the power to change to change my community as well.
You just raised a very important issue. Puerto Ricans and Black people suffer from group guilt and group responsibility. White folks don't suffer from that. If they do something bad, it's just that person. It does not reflect on the whole white race. Okay? We're the only ones, you know what? I don't want to make my family look bad. I got a good family name. You know, Abraham, you know, God said to him, I'll make your name great. So I want to make a great name for my family. But the Unabomber and, and all these other criminals out here, they don't be thinking about that. They just go out here and do their stuff. And it's only focused on them. They don't make a statement to themselves that I'm creating a blanket indictment of my race. In fact, they have something for Puerto Ricans, for immigrants, that they don't have for anybody else. And that is that under 45, they created a chart that when immigrants make or commit a crime, they keep a record of it. And they have their picture. And they make a point to amplify that in the news. But they don't amplify the good. They don't amplify the value and the impact and the entrepreneurship and how that wealth is being created by immigrants, that every immigrant that comes into this country have a 3 to 4 times greater chance of buying a home, of having their own business, and creating wealth. Why? Because they're hungry. They hit the ground running because they're hungry. They don't come here to sit down and watch CNN, constant negative news. They are hungry. And so that when you are in an environment that deny you, put systems together to lock you out, that demean you, that demonizes you, and does everything to destroy your sense of self. In order to get past that, you got to be hungry. You got to hold yourself to a higher standard. You have to be 4 times better than a white person competing in the same arena. Why? Because of systemic racism. And so when we look at ourselves, look at our goals, and look at what we want to do. I read this report, said stunningly, a white high school dropout with a criminal background will create 3 times more wealth than the average African American or Latino. Now, that wasn't stunning to me because I know that how systems are put in place that will give them the advantage and to our disadvantage. So we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. We have to operate from the thinking of Henry David Thoreau, who said, do not go where the path may lead. Go where there's no path and leave a trail. And that's what we're called to do. And we have to hold ourselves to this higher standard in spite of everything that's
Hey, Les, I think you might have hit the mute. Try hitting it. There we go. I think you're back now. Can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yes.
now? All right, beautiful. I heard everything
Yes.
except the last 1 second got dropped out. Um, so okay, I have my next question. So the name of our movement down here in Puerto Rico, it's called Latino Wall Street, and we actually took inspiration from Black Wall Street, from the movement in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the 1920s, the early 1900s, and it was a movement of African Americans who came together. People don't know what Black Wall Street is. It was a community of African Americans who came together, and they had wealth and abundance, and it was incredible part of history that ended rather tragically on May 31st, 1921. And so we're coming up on the 100-year anniversary in 2 weeks. Tulsa, Oklahoma was massacred. Over 100 people died due to systemic racism in the United States, and that community was destroyed. But it was an amazing community. It was so inspiring. I didn't base the name on the tragic ending. We based the name on the amazing beginning and what the potential is to create new coalitions 100 years later. And so as we come up on the 100-year anniversary of Black Wall Street, how can we use the power of the digital economy, right? Like you were talking about earlier, the world is so much smaller. We're more connected than ever. So how can we use the power of the digital economy to build coalitions in the Black and Latino community and come together to create wealth and abundance, starting our own banks, starting our own insurance companies. We have a lot of amazing role models to look to, right? We have, Jay-Z and J-Lo and Oprah and all these successful, Orlando Bravo, who's the first Puerto Rican billionaire, right? We have a lot of examples to look to, and a lot of success in our communities, right? We've come a long way in the last 100 years, right? As far as civil rights are concerned. But how can we take a step now in 2021, right, and build coalitions to build wealth and abundance in our communities?
It's a three-step process. Number one, we got to commit ourselves, to hold ourselves to a higher standard and include people of various backgrounds working together and selecting them to do the greater work with us. Jose, who works with me, he pulled this together. And Jose, he works with my son, Calvin. And we found ways to work together, to make money together. He brings a skill set that I don't have and my sons don't have. And we didn't look at each other and say, look here, I can't speak Spanish. Un poquito. We said, how can we make some money up in here? How can we leverage your name and reputation? I don't have your name, but I got some skills that you don't have, my brother. Can we work something out? People say money won't make you happy, but everybody want to find out for themselves. So diversity wins. At the end of the day, the question is, do you really want to win? The people who want to win understand that we want to be global and diverse and inclusive in our thinking and building a team of people who bring skill sets, knowledge, contacts, and relationships that we don't have. It's called relationship currency. And we have to continuously learn. If you're not willing to learn, no one can help you. But if you're willing to learn, no one can stop you. And the other thing, building communities of inclusive, collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships. Because just like you and I are talking right now, through communication, we're able to develop relationship capital. And you give me access right now to an audience that I don't have without you. And I, interviewing you with your product, with your business, I give you access to an audience that you don't have. And so our working together through collaboration, through communication, and a commitment to hold each other accountable and to a higher standard and to find ways to win in spite of the fact that we don't have the complexion of connection, in spite of the fact that there are systems that are designed to deny us and to demonize us and to destroy our sense of self, to begin to make a commitment that we're going to win. It's one thing when you're involved in a process, but when you are committed, the next time you have bacon and eggs, look at it. The chicken was involved, but the pig was committed. He had to give it all up. So we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we have to go all out to make our mark and be able to do market takeaways, take no prisoners, and eat the wounded and start at the ears like Mike Tyson.
No, I love that. I see a lot of people in the comments, they're saying, like Afro Latinos, where are all the Afro Latinos at? That's the amazing thing. It was almost a culture shock when I came to Puerto Rico, because in Puerto Rico, you have people of all shades and all colors, black, white, there's blue-eyed, blonde Puerto Ricans, and there's guys that look like me, and then there's guys that are darker, but they're all Puerto Rican. So it's some of the tension and animosity and things of that nature that you have in the U.S., they're different here. A lot of that stuff doesn't exist here. But then when you get into the U.S., the Dominicans are fighting with the Puerto Ricans, and they're fighting with and everyone's sort of fighting with each other. And I wish for a day, and I think we're seeing that. I think social media is bringing people together because people are seeing how small the world is. Where to quote Dr. Martin Luther King, we judge people on the basis of their character, and the content of their character, and not their skin color, their outward appearance. But we need to, like you said, collaborate. We need to work together, grow together, maybe get out of that scarcity mindset that when you make money, it's somehow taking something away from me, or vice versa, and look at things as an exchange. How can we grow and prosper together?
But I want to inject something here. Pardon me, please.
Please.
I saw this analogy, which is real. If you put ants, red ants and black ants, in a jar, they'll get along just fine. But if you shake it up, they'll start fighting each other. All right? And the black ants think it's the red ants that's causing the disturbance. And the red ants think it's the black ants that's causing the disturbance. When you look at the hatred that's being expressed against Asian people, 45 knew what he was saying when he said it's a Chinese virus, the Asian virus. He knew what he was doing. He was demonizing them. All right? So the question becomes, when there's a shakeup, we should not turn on each other. We should turn to each other and ask the question, who's creating this? This shakeup. We're being groomed to turn against each other. When somebody says, they're taking your jobs, who said that? Who's pointing that finger? Because ultimately they have three fingers pointing at themselves. They're trying to keep us divided. That's the weapon that they're using, because that works for them. And we have to have the clarity of mind to say, hey, look here. We don't have a horse in this race in terms of spreading hatred and divisiveness and feeling like there's not enough for everybody. We are being groomed for discord. It's in somebody's interest to keep us at odds. It's in somebody's interest. It is not you and it's not me to keep us divided and fighting each other. And we need to stop and think and say, hey, we got to come together. We got to turn to each other and find ways to work together through this stuff that we got. And we can. We can. We got to realize at the end of the day, who I am behind my eyes is who you are behind your eyes. We're all breathing the same air. We bleed the same blood. And there's an African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. And what we must do is keep that enemy outside from penetrating our collective consciousness with algorithms and all type of other strategies to keep us at each other's throat, and realize that we are brothers and sisters. We have a common vision and a common goal to live a healthy, happy, prosperous life.
I love that. It's incredible. Yeah, I think being centered, right, and not allowing the outside influence. The world is really noisy, right? It's more noisy than it's ever been with social media. First, we had TV when I was growing up. We had 100 channels or 10 channels, and then 100, right? And that was a big deal. Now we have a million channels, right? It's unlimited, the amount of noise. So being able to have love and peace in your heart, and then, like you said, don't let the outside in, is an incredible strategy. How do you overcome labels, right? In school, they called you retarded. They called you the retarded twin, right? And you grew up, like I said, in a very different era as far as civil rights, and the world was a different place with different water fountains, and really, you've witnessed the world change a lot. And you've created so much wealth and abundance and success, speaking on stages all around the world, best-selling author on TV, on radio. So how are you able to overcome labels and the limiting beliefs that are placed on you by others in society?
I'm glad you asked that question. What you do in your program and what I do as a speaker and you do as a speaker and a coach, we disrupt a person's vision of themselves that's been created by the culture that we live in. That's why my favorite book says, be ye not conformed to what you hear, to what you see in this world. We learn from conversations we hear.
Hey Les, I think you're on mute again. Try hitting. Hey Les, there's no sound. If you want to hit the button, or have somebody on your team hit the button. Hit the button. We can't hear you. No. I need somebody. I can't hear you now. I wasn't sure if it was just me or if it was for everybody. Okay. Let's see. I hear a blink. 1, 2, 3. See, is the internet? Les, can you hear me? Let's see. Technology, incredibly powerful, and it's still a work in progress. All right, hang on. Uncle Les. All right, Les is having some technical difficulties. That's just having some technical difficulties. All right. So we're gonna get him back on. Just give me a second here, and I'll ask him the question because he was getting into the answer. Let's get him back in here. Just bear with me. There he is. All right. I'm sending the request. Really incredible interview. Thank you, Jose. Thank you for setting this up. Les.
Yes, Tony.
Yeah, we're back. We're back, my friend. Technology, very, very powerful tool that we can use all around the world, but it's still a work in progress.
Yes.
So yeah, let's run back the last question. Everybody said, please, we need the answer. We can't read lips. Okay, how do you overcome the labels that are placed on you by the world, by the universe?
What we have to do, Tony, is make a total commitment to get to know the truth about ourselves. There are algorithms that know more about us than we know about ourselves. Mark Twain said the two most important days in our lives, the day that we're born, the day that we realize why we were born. We were created by the Creator to create. So self-reflection, Adam, where are you? That was not a question of location. It's a question that I want you to think. Adam, you're made in my likeness and image. I want you to think. You've been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, including your mind. You can't control the thoughts that come in your mind, but you can control the thoughts that you dwell on. I want you to think. As a man thinketh, so is he. As he continues to think, so he remains. Continue to work on your mind. And most people don't do that. And that's why your program is so important. You're engaged in doing the greater work, transforming people's minds so that they can understand and know the grass might be greener on the other side of the street, but the water bill is higher. You're in a place, in a location that other people, the majority people, are flying to because they can get the greatest tax breaks in Puerto Rico that they can't get in the United States. You're leaving paradise to come over here for something that you think is better than where you are, and where you are is holy ground. Come on, somebody. Well, I've been there. I know what I'm talking about.
You've been to Puerto Rico, Les? We gotta get you back.
Oh, I would love to. When the corona is gone, she ain't playing. I'm not coming out the house till 2027.
Well, you've overcome something even more incredible than corona. You overcame cancer, and I think you took it
Fourth stage cancer. Fourth stage, yes. In fact, I beat cancer's butt so badly, the cancer rate in my neighborhood dropped by 97%.
Oh man! So I want to ask you a little bit about how were you able to do it? How were you able to do it and stay so positive and keep working and keep creating?
You know, I had a very good doctor. He said, Mr. Brown, something I got to tell you. I said, what is it? He said, you have prostate cancer. I said, is there anything else? He said, fourth stage. It's manifests itself in the T1, T2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 vertebrae of your spine. I smiled. He said, why are you smiling? I said, 7 is my lucky number. I'm one of 7 children. I was born February the 17th. Joshua marched around the walls of Jericho 7 times. Naaman dipped himself in the river Jordan 7 times. He looked at the nurse who was there and said, this is a strange one. I said, is there anything else? He said, yes. I said, what is it? He said, you're ugly too. I said, you don't call me ugly, did you? Come on, man, this is serious. He said, yes, but you got this. Listen, I determined the diagnosis. I'm in the position to say to you that my talents, my skills, my knowledge have terminated. But you and God determine the prognosis. And because of how he said that, I didn't deny what was going on, but I became defiant because of how he interrupted that conversation with laughter. I left there with a heart full of faith. Most people in a fearful situation when they are told you have cancer, cancer is the most feared word in 7 different languages. And so, and many people, when they're faced in a fearful situation, they forget everything and run. They forget greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. They forget you are more than a conqueror. They forget you have been given authority and dominion over everything, including cancer. They forget everything and run. But there's a small number who face everything and rise because they know that faith not tested can't be trusted. And so I enjoy kicking cancer's butt. It's what I do. Hello, hello, hello. Behave, whatever.
Oh, that's incredible. If you could go back and talk to the 18-year-old version of yourself and give yourself some advice, what would you tell the younger version of yourself?
Start living your dream quickly. Don't worry about what you don't have. It's what you think you need that keeps you from living your dream. What you have is enough. You are enough. I stopped myself for 14 years when I first decided I wanted to speak, when I saw Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. And what happened, I said, I don't have a college education. I can't compete with people with PhDs and MBAs. There's nobody on this stage that looks like me. I have the complexion of rejection. And so they're not going to let me in the game. And then my mentor, Mike Williams, he wrote a book called The Road to Your Best Stuff. I wrote the foreword for it. It's a good book to get, The Road to Your Best Stuff. He said, Brownie, he said, all of us are born the same way, dumb, naked, and speechless. He said, you can learn how to do this like them and even better. Find a way to win. Become unstoppable. You got to be hungry. People that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. People that are hungry know you will fail your way to success. People that are hungry believe always strive to get on top in life because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. Got to be hungry, Brownie. Find a way to win. And here I am.
And you chose it. You made that decision.
Yes, we make decisions and our decisions make us. Absolutely. You're right.
That's incredible. All right, Les, well, I know that we're running low on time. I want to thank you again for giving us your time, your inspiration, your passion. I have one last question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, what does disrupt mean to you?
Disruptions. It's a part of life. Disruptions mean we have to transform ourselves. Einstein said that thinking that has brought me this far has created some problems that this thinking can't solve. Disruptions mean we have to throw our net on the other side. That what has got us here can't keep us here, nor take us where we want to go. We are in this position, as Shula said, either expand or you are expendable. We're in this place, what Toffler said, the era of the 3 C's, accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition. And so we've got to know that we are more than conquerors. We've got to know in our heart of hearts, not our minds, because we've been trained to be logical, practical, and realistic, but in our heart, where your heart is, there your treasure is also. We have to know in our heart that it's not over until we win. You got to be hungry I encourage those who listen to you to go on YouTube and see Les Brown speaking in the Georgia Dome before 80,000 white people. First time a black man stood on that stage in the Georgia Dome and gave the speech, "You're not over, tell you when." And it was a very right-wing conservative group. And I had to come out there and know I'm going to command this audience. But at first, I was intimidated by them. And Mike Williams, my mentor, said, "Brownie, they came to see you. You didn't come to see them. You got this." See, we have to have somebody in our lives that will believe in us until our belief kicks in. And there are a lot of people that when they hear you, your voice is a voice of encouragement. Your voice will fuel their faith and allow their doubts to starve to death. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. T in Tony stands for total commitment. O stands for own your life. N stands for never give up. And Y stands for say yes to life. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, my brother.
Les, thank you so much, my brother. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you for doing this for Puerto Rico, for doing this for the Latino community. We're going to share this recording once it's over, all over social media. My last question is when are we getting you back to Puerto Rico after this COVID stuff? We got to get you on stage to come talk to the kids down here in Puerto Rico, my friend.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, but in the meantime, we'll do it virtually. And I'm giving you a virtual hug right now and tell you I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
My brother, thank you so much for your time, my friend. If people want to connect with you, for anyone who doesn't know, if you've been living under a rock, click this button right here, and then Les's account will come up, and you can hit follow. If people want to connect with you, what's the best place to do that?
They can go to Les Brown at hungrytospeak.com. Les Brown at hungrytospeak.com.
Incredible. Thank you, my brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Bye for now.